Well, I mean, I'm human. I do think that people tend to think that I eat really healthy and I live a very strict lifestyle. I make things that are unhealthy or not very good for me hard to do. That's all I do. I don't buy, like, I eat sweet things, I eat desserts and everything, but I don't buy them. I usually will walk to get something like that. I'll make it hard to do. I try to limit my caffeine consumption, but I grind and press and make my coffee the most difficult way possible so that I don't Keurig all day long. It makes me appreciate it more because I think that things that are inherently not sustainable, not good habits, you should make inconveniences. Like if Anna really likes frozen yogurt and bubble tea, we walk to get that stuff. We walk to get it. Sure, we could buy it, but what's the sense of that? I want to get out of the house, first of all. And there's many ways that you can do things the long road. And that's just part of adding little habits to increase your daily caloric expenditure.
Podcasting from somewhere with protein shakes and no yearly membership fees. This is the HeroFit Podcast, the show that talks about the ins and outs of fitness, nutrition, and anything else that might get you feeling like a hero. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your hosts, Nick Stutzman and Dan Weber.
Hello, and thank you for tuning into the HeroFit Podcast, where we love to talk fitness, nutrition, wellness, and ways you can level up your health. I'm Dan Weber with my co-host Nick Stutzman, and today we're joined by Jordan Marwin. Jordan is an expert in sports performance, functional training, rowing, and yelling at NHL draft prospects. Today we're going to talk about his background, his training and life philosophies, plus ways you can optimize your performance and become harder to kill. Being hard to kill is definitely ties in with being hero-like. Jordan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thank you. So other than Dan's great intro there, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, when I was growing up, like I told you guys before, I thought I was going to be a doctor. So I was in a medical background, pre-med in college. And while I was working at a hospital in Philadelphia, do you want to hear the story that changed me over to? Okay.
I think anything like that is good news.
I thought I was going to be
and
a
if it makes for boring podcasting, we just cut it out.
That's right.
So for my about 8 years, 4 years of high school, 4 years of college was preparatory for medical school. And I even took the MCATs. I went through the whole process. I was working as an intern at Jefferson Hospital. And the surgeon I was working for, really, really great guy, kind of like down to earth, told me about the lifestyle of a surgeon. It's as miserable as you think. He was doing 12, 16-hour surgeries on people who were in terrible... He was a plastic surgeon, but for people who had ear, nose, and throat trauma. So there was this one patient in particular who needed a new esophagus because they had tongue and throat cancer. So this person was a really kind person that I spent a lot of time with in and out of the OR, watching the surgeries, photographing it. And it was just a lot of work for the surgeon that he was missing out on things that he wanted to do. After the person was released from the hospital, it just so happened to be the same hour that I was picking up lunch for the doctor's residence that I was working for. And on my way out of the medical facility, I saw that patient smoking out of the stent hole in their neck. So that was a real shocker for me to think that all these people sacrificed their personal time and their family just to put themselves on the line, put into this person ultimate effort in rebuilding, giving them health, and basically
renewed life, essentially.
A second chance. And just to abuse it like that. I thought to myself that there's no such thing as preventative health. I need to do pre-preventative health. And I thought that day I went in and I said, I don't think this is the job for me. I think I made my decision. I worked there for about a year too. And I was sad to go, but honestly,
Wow.
he was it was Ryan Heffelfinger. I remember that name because he was like, "Go for it, dude, go for it." So that was really his advice for me.
That makes sense. That is tough. I even just, and we're fitness, but when I watch people go outside and smoke for the gym and stuff, I'm like that, or just, I'm like, I get frustrated.
Yeah, especially with all the information out there. You're
Anybody who smokes, really, but yeah.
I understand the addiction aspect of it, but there's better things.
That's true. But to that degree is even worse. Like you said, just watching somebody right out of the hospital, that's got to be frustrating, and definitely understandable why you decided to go a different direction.
Yeah.
So did you know right away what you wanted to do?
No, I thought I wanted to do something involving something athletic because I was a college athlete. So I joined a gym not really knowing what I wanted to do. I thought I was fine as being a personal trainer. It evolved over time. So I thought, again, I was a college athlete who thought they knew how to work out. So I thought I'd be good at being a personal trainer. So I got a certification through NASM. I started a job at Philadelphia Sports Club. And as a trainer, I worked there for 8 months before I realized I was a dime a dozen. There was 20 other trainers at the gym, and no one knew the difference between us because no matter how young you were, how old you were, it was really only based on what you looked like at this club in particular. So after 8 months of working as a personal trainer, I applied for a grad school to get my master's and try to move beyond that level, that
the genetic level.
Yeah.
Do you think that because so you were a Division I rower, and you talk about how you were an athlete but you weren't a fit person, and why do you think that is? Do you think Division I athletes just aren't aware of what how to work out, or what really good for their health, or just something like that?
Well, on the college sports aspect, you're told what to do, so you're not really expected to know what to do. Not that they tell you the right things to do, but as an athlete, I thought I was the man. I thought I was in great shape. I thought I knew how to lift. And so my big eye-opening moment was, so after college, I was still oblivious at this point when I'm saying I went to grad school, I applied. I tore my ACL training, MMA practice. I turned awkwardly and my knee just exploded. Oof. And I had to get surgery back in Buffalo. That's where my insurance covered it. So I applied to grad school in Buffalo. It wasn't until my physical therapy where I really connected with my physical therapist at Sports PT. They pointed out to me that I basically moved very poorly. And that's what led me to my ACL tear. Not that I did anything wrong, but throughout my life, I pretty much did everything wrong. Not one thing in particular. Everything I was doing led up to this. I didn't squat well. I had no idea what a hinge was. Everything was so dysfunctional because I was funneled into specializing in rowing. So if there's a problem with sports on a Division I level, I think that the biggest one is you're overly specifying a human to do non-human things.
Yeah.
Sports are made up things that we do for entertainment and competitive purposes. They serve no purpose in survival other than being fit, I guess, but they build you into honing in on a scale that really doesn't make sense. Throwing a ball through a basket or shooting a puck, they don't make sense. They're entertaining, they're fun, but they don't ultimately make you a greater human being.
Yeah, I mean, you can be great at those things while tearing your body apart.
Ask somebody who's really, really good at playing basketball. Ask a Division I basketball player to touch their toes. I guarantee they won't be able to, because they never have to squat that low. They never really have to bend over that far. When they're shooting a basket, it's a quarter squat, right? When you do a max effort box jump, it's a quarter squat. So if you ask a basketball player to squat below parallel or touch their toes, they won't be able to, because they're think of it like this. When you have an athlete or just a general person, Think of if you could track their movement throughout the day and every movement just traced through the air, like highlighted it, you would at the end of the day come out with a weird looking cloud or a box, right? Like a cage that's, say, 2 feet surrounding me. Say I never reach a foot over my head, so only up to here. I only reach out in front of me to the degree where I'm not locking out, and I never reach behind me whatsoever, right? As most people. And the only thing that's happening behind me is the end of my gait cycle when I'm walking or, God forbid, running. And at the end of the day, you have this cloud. That's your cloud of limitation. And then once you repetitively move in that cycle, your body will adapt and not go beyond that movement.
Yeah. Warning to all the desk jockeys out there.
Yeah, that's funny.
Like me.
I think LeBron actually got made fun of for his squat. Like he just was horrible.
I remember that
functionality with that. I think it was LeBron because he maybe went down like a couple inches, and then everyone's like, "Well,
he had a bar on his back." I remember that he had a bar on his back, and everyone's like, "That's not well, LeBron's. I don't know how tall he is, but he's like twice as tall as me, and his squat was probably the height of me.
Yeah,
but still, it wasn't below parallel. Yeah, he's not meant to do that, nor does he have to, nor should he. He should never."
Yeah, he's getting paid millions of dollars. He shouldn't be squatting like that.
That would be an example of something being healthy to be able to do, but for his sake, more risky than rewardful.
Especially not only on his lower back, but his knees.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's something that all basketball players need to have longevity of is your knees because they're just bouncing up and down all every night.
Yeah.
Kind of makes me think about when I was a sprinter. I'd have like anterior pelvic tilt still do. It made me a better sprinter, but who knows if that's actually healthy for me to have that.
It depends
going on.
what shape your torso was in. I mean, were you like an open runner, or did you have what they call that closed scissored position where your diaphragm and your pelvis? If you have anterior pelvic tilt, if your ribs are pulled in, I mean that's going to be hugely advantageous.
I mean, I don't know how to answer that question in terms of what kind of runner I was.
I didn't mean to go into that degree, but I was just thinking like...
I was a sprinter who ran pretty fast for a white guy
until
he got hurt too much.
Did you have
I've had back pain most of my life, yeah.
Then you probably opened up. That's kind of like the telltale sign of you're a runner, do you have back pain, do you do this when you run? Back pain.
I think that's what when I was running the like corporate challenge, I'd have lower back pain.
Yep.
And I think it was because my chest would open up.
Chest opens up, you have chronic tightness in your lower back, and think of it like this. This is kind of an eye-opener for a lot of people when I explain it to them when I have clients. Your spine, if you think of it like a radio tower on top of a building. So that radio tower doesn't sway, you have guy wires holding it down to the ground or the roof of the building. So those guy wires are kind of like your core musculature. And each one of those wires needs to be equally taut. When you are running and opening up your chest, those guy wires behind me are a little bit more taut, or a lot more than my abdominal muscles, my obliques, like deep hip tensors. When I'm running in that position, you're causing tension on your back. And then when you go back in the neutral, or throughout the rest of your day, that chronic tension is going to be compression load on your spine because your spine pulls vertically. So once those muscles are tight from being tensed all throughout the run, that load is vertical on the discs and the vertebrae. So people go, oh my God, that's what happens? Well, there's a lot of other things that happen, but that's one way to put yourself into back pain.
I can't even tell you, it'll cripple me almost, where I can barely move because my lower back just tightens up so much. But now that makes sense because I would kind of, like I said, raise my chest up for the breathing aspect too.
Now, when you were saying the anterior pelvic tilt when you run, that's a good thing. That's
right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It was beneficial for me when I was sprinting.
And you want to be able to get.
Who knows if it's good for me the rest of the day, right?
Yeah. So it's like that's good running for him.
Yep.
And then the rest of the day, you need to not do that.
I was kind of like tightly wound up like that most of the day.
Like as a rower, I need to round my back when I reach. And I describe rowing as you're doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of very, very light deadlifts. That's what rowing on the water, rowing on a ergometer is. It's just a deadlift after deadlift.
Yeah.
You need a flat back for a deadlift. Rowing, you shouldn't be, it would be more energy consuming than efficient. So to be an efficient rower is to be a fast rower. And rounding your back is more energetically saving than flattening it. And since it's such a light pull, you can get away with poor technique by rounding the back.
But does that hurt you in the longevity? Like after, like a lot of sport athletes could get hurt from it?
It absolutely could. So it comes with how resilient is your body to injury, and resiliency is built in the gym. So if you don't lift, yeah, you're going to get hurt. If you do, you're much, much less likely in that form, that poor form, to not get hurt.
And not just lifting, but also lifting intelligently and doing corrective exercises and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, so you're a Division I athlete, but the ACL kind of ended that.
No, that came after college. I finished the 4 years, and then after college, I was on the hunt for a new sport. I was so sick of rowing by the end of college.
Yeah.
Division I sports. So rowing's not a fun sport.
I think of the Winklevoss twins when I think of the rowing.
Yeah.
The Winklevoss.
Were they at Harvard?
Harvard. Yeah. Because that was where Zuckerberg was.
Yeah. Rowing's not a fun sport. I tell people who want to row that, well, I ask them why. But rowing's a sport for people who enjoy hard work. Like, I like yard work. I like chopping wood. I like ripping out grass, stumps, things like that. I like building things. I like hard work, and I appreciate it. So I enjoy rowing for that reason. People should not row if they think it's going to be fun. It's something that's hard, and it's satisfying for that reason.
The throwback to the Vikings and all that, right?
I don't know if Anna told you this, but we did our 23andMe, the genetic testing to kind of
she did mention that.
We did like dietary, so that we could send it to
Rhonda Patrick.
Well, we sent it to Rhonda Patrick, and she sent us back a bunch of information that was just like, these genes are mutated, and I don't really know what that means.
Okay.
I thought it was going to tell me what I should and shouldn't eat, but maybe it does.
It needs better UX.
It has to be interpreted by a registered dietitian, not me. Mm-hmm. But I sent it in, and it tells you what your background is. And for me, it said like 99% Eastern Northern European. And I was like, yeah, no shit. That's what I look I look like a Nordic Viking / German. I'm like, oh, that's pretty spot on.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why you went into rowing.
Thanks for telling us. Yeah.
In the blood.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. By the way, I'm Eastern European.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you go to school and you get your master's, and what is your kind of next steps after that?
So, like I said, I went to the master's program because I just wanted to get out of the personal training world because of the reasons of it was just so watered down. And honestly, I knew that I could identify things that didn't look good, but I didn't know why, and I didn't know how to fix them. Mm-hmm. So if somebody squatted or benched poorly, I knew it wasn't right, but I just didn't have the knowledge of why. And then I found that I was doing a lot of things I didn't know the purpose of. So I couldn't really get the result that I wanted out of it. So PT opened my eyes to that. Grad school really opened my eyes to that. So then the next step was to keep learning. So I sought out Impact Sports Performance over at the Harbor Center. I applied to work there. I worked as a sports performance coach for 4 years, and I got to see a lot of cool stuff. I'd say that 4 years, there was so much dense exposure to all sorts of athletes, all sorts of sports, and people who are way, way smarter than I was. Like I said, I went there thinking I was the man, and I worked with some really, really smart people who shook the life into me and made me realize that I didn't know anything.
Is that where you started kind of finding your passion for this?
I found my passion when I felt dumb in front of these individuals.
Yeah.
Fresh out of grad school, some physical therapists and athletic trainers that I was working with and strength coaches, they basically made me realize in a one way or another, more ways than another, that I had no idea what I was talking about. And then that gave me the hunger for more.
Driving you into sports performance and energy systems development?
Finding my passion, energy systems development, kind of started in grad school, and then kept going when I went to Impact, because now I had athletes to study it and apply it for. So yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that more.
So cardio, as it's understood by general population, is either go or not go. It's binary. It's either it's either 100 miles an hour or 2 miles an hour, right? It's nothing. What do you guys think of in terms of cardio? Like when somebody says like, I'm going to do cardio, what do you do? I'm interested.
I know what I think, not myself personally, because I think cardio can be different things. Like for me, playing basketball is cardio, running up and down the court. But I think most people, if I had to guess, the general public is running on a treadmill or doing some kind of work like that. I think that's what they envision as cardio. And I think that's something, I think that's also a stigma that you see a lot of social media kind of put it through as well, is like, that's your cardio.
Yeah.
I just immediately think, well, what are you trying to accomplish? Like what for? I mean, is it anaerobic, aerobic, kind of a mix? Mm-hmm. Are you training for a sport? Are you just trying to get into that quote fat loss zone, or the improve your resting heart rate? Like, I don't know. So for me, it just opens up a plethora of questions.
Yeah. Great. Cause I like talking about that. That's, like I said, it's one of my passions, because it's something I enjoy talking about, because the more you talk about it, I find the more you learn about it, because talking gives me the opportunity of figuring out stuff that I don't know. So like when I get to a topic and maybe you ask a question I don't know, well, there's the new thing for me to study. So in general, anaerobic, aerobic, that's what people think it as. I say it's binary.
And I think about it that way, probably from my track background.
Yeah. It's important to...
I can't remember the hybrid system where you're running like the 400, 800.
It's important to simplify it, because like when I worked with general population, those are the only two, I say, gears people can tap into. Mm-hmm. I look at it like this. Everybody has gears. I think of it like a manual transmission. General population, they usually have first and second maybe gear. Athletes will get into that third gear, fourth if they're elites. So I talk about these gears in terms of what speed can you go, what fuel source can you tap into? Because if you tell somebody who has never done a sport to go fast, they will think they're going fast, and they will be going, it's like they're walking through a pool, you know? It's like you ask somebody to sprint fast. They are unable to comprehend what that actually means. A non-athlete.
Like unable to comprehend, are you talking intellectually or like physically?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I see people who are, no question, that was fast. How fast do you think? How fast was I going? Like, not fast. But then when I get an individual who goes, that wasn't fast, that person knows how to go fast. Because if you can identify that you are not fast, you now know what fast feels like. So
that's me in old age.
Yeah, that's my life.
It's like when I have an athlete and they go, oh man, did you get that one? Did you record that one? Or was I a blur across the screen? I'm like, you are still being recorded because you are slow. But anaerobic and aerobic are the only two really appropriate ones for general population to worry about. People, here's what really bothers me. Orange theory really bothers me, because
controversy.
There's these businesses that are out there that not only just water down, but create these fitness fallacies, like the fallacy that you will only burn fat when you're in the orange zone. And I think that they're talking about like 130 to 140 to 175 heart rate, something around.
There's those charts out there,
I don't think, they don't know the numbers either, because I've had a client that was at Orange Theory, because I say, when I was training this individual, I was saying, okay, we're training, we do the hard stuff, you do the things you do the medicine with me, you do the fun on your own. So go have fun, do whatever you want to do. When you're with me, we're going to do some things that are good for you. So she chose to go to Orange Theory because it was fun. It was fun for her. So I asked her, well, I want to know a little bit more about this. Ask them where they're getting these zones from. What are your percentages? And she asked, and they had no idea. I think it was just somebody who was behind the front desk who just they don't put any. It's corporate. They don't really put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah, it's like a franchise. Everybody's got the same formula.
But we're just trying to generalize.
They just have to follow the formula.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. It's a good idea when you're already in shape. It's a good idea when you're already capable. It's a terrible idea if you are an unhealthy, out of shape, immobile person.
Putting people at those, especially the high stress levels, that can be definitely rough on anybody's body.
Yeah. And the thought that if I had a rough day, had a bad day, I got to work it out hard. You have to do that's the opposite of what you should be doing. We talk about like nervous
system's on fire.
Yeah.
Trying to mellow people out.
That's one thing I really like about John Rusin that he goes through is sympathetic versus parasympathetic optimization. And another thing that so along with energy systems, I have a big passion for heart rate variability, HRV. Are you guys familiar? Good, because I love to talk about it. So without making it sound overly complex, we all know what heart rate tracking is, and heart rate variability is...
Is this using that to essentially see where someone is in their recovery? And
it's a recovery tool.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm familiar.
So they measure it as the time in between heartbeats, because when your heart rate, so say my heart rate's 80 beats per minute, if that heartbeat is very consistent, say it's low variability, I'm going to be more sympathetic. And if it's high variability, meaning the beats are not on a consistent rhythm, I'm going to be very parasympathetic, so low stress. Now think of that. When you're running, you want your heart rate to be consistent. That's your fight or flight mode. So your sympathetic nervous system. But if you're already in that sympathetic nervous system and you're already high stressed, you're going to perform at a lower level. And that's going to tell you, your HRV is going to tell you how ready you are to deal with stress.
Right.
Or how much longer you need to recover.
Which varies between athlete to athlete, or the types, different types of athletes, I should say.
So when I was,
and it will depend. It depends on your diet, how well you slept the night before,
and so many things.
How much work you did the day before, whether your boss yelled at you or not. You walk into the gym and you're testing them, right, and then you're kind of seeing what's going on, and like, okay, we need to back off today, or wow, you're looking good, like we could push you hard today. Right?
And you will feel one way. Typically, your nervous system will be telling you something different.
That's why some people have good days at the gym and some people have bad days.
Man, I feel good. I feel really good today. How come this feels heavy? Well, that's probably because your nervous system's a little shot. No, maybe you didn't kill it at the gym, but you drank the night before, you didn't get sleep, and you had a shitty day at work.
And if you train intelligently, then the next day you actually could have a great workout because you can kind of, I don't know what the right word would be, but I know some days if I'm not feeling it, I go in, I'll just do some explosive movements without fatiguing myself.
Deload.
Then I'm starting to feel like I'm starting to wake up. I'm starting to feel into it, and then it's like I have to have the discipline now to walk out of the gym.
Absolutely.
So that the next day I can crush it.
Absolutely. So
often I don't have that discipline. I keep working out hard, and then the next day I'm tired.
I know what that feels like. It's like a good confidence builder. I work out with clients sometimes, and whenever I work out with a client, I don't go heavy because I want them to see what it should look like, and I also don't want to hurt myself because I have to coach somebody while I work out also. And I only do it for a couple of clients, but like the clients that I do it with are Olympic weightlifters, and they're fun to lift with, and I'll be lifting light. I'll feel really, really good, and I'll hear that same voice. It's go heavy.
Let's go heavy, baby.
This is a good day. But you're absolutely right. People don't understand that diet has a lot to do with it, and the job stress has a lot to do with it. So what I did with some of my athletes, I had to train one individual who was trying to be a Division I rower, trying to get into a Ivy League school. And I had him for 3 months I had 3 months to subtract 12 seconds off of his 2,000 meter rowing test, his 2K. And that would be, I don't know what that would be comparable to in track, but if you are say a college athlete, I expect 4 seconds per year to come off of your 2K. So they gave a pretty hefty goal, and I said, all right, I'll get as close as we can get to that, but he's going to have to do whatever I say. Basically, he's not going to have a summer. It was 3 months over the summer. He's not going to have a summer. So we trained 6 days a week. He had 5 of those days, maybe 4 of those days were 2-a-days, and the remainder were active recovery. And when I say we trained 6 days a week, we did HRV testing every single day. So if his HRV was a good score and he was ready to perform, we did the lift as intended. If his HRV was mid-stressed, not really showing too many signs, but also not a good day, we took out some of the complex lifts and some of the, say, high stressor compound, like if we were doing a squat press, then we would chop it down to just a squat, and then maybe do the press afterwards. So simplifying lift. And then if we had just a horrible day, he didn't get sleep or something, we would do a recovery day, but it would be active recovery, not necessarily like just passive modality on a table with ice or something.
Yeah. So
or stim.
What comes to mind for me would be that I'm guessing you would say that that's a better strategy than just say resting or not doing anything.
They're both valuable, but you can rest too much. Passive recovery still important, but everything in moderation. Passive recovery definitely has its place, but active recovery is.
I'm thinking about a lot of the average gym goers and myself that have fallen to this, which is I'll end up going 5-6 days without going to the gym, and then all of a sudden it's like that's too much. That's way too much passive recovery.
I call that gym momentum. You either have momentum in the gym or you have momentum out of the gym. Once you're out of the gym, you start saying in your head, man, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to look so weak. I'm not going to lift what I did before. I don't even know what to do now. And that's like that's resting momentum. That's like vacation mode. Everybody feels that. I have clients who say, I'm so scared of coming back into the gym. Like, no, you're good.
Well, usually for me, it just ends up life gets busy, I'm tired, and I just it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's the struggle for I think, and I think that's a struggle for a lot of just general public is sometimes life gets in the way, and so how can you not get down on yourself and keep it positive going to the gym, and especially when you.
Well, I think one thing to say to that is that it's okay to go to the gym and do more of an active recovery workout where you're not
killing.
You don't have to leave the gym unable to walk,
right,
in order to have done something good for yourself.
Right, and I would say you should never really go to the gym and not be able to walk afterwards.
Let's go back to that comment that you just said with, how can you, be just a regular person in the gym and maybe improve your fitness level, and how many days you're going to the gym, maybe 2 days, 3 days a week, if you're consistent. That's just 3 hours out of the week. And there's something that's so much greater than that. It's the lifestyle that you live outside of that. And, nutrition and everything aside, I'm not a nutrition expert, but you can make your day more active little by little, and just picking up little habits. Like if you have, I used to live over North Buffalo, Cove and Hurdle, and the co-op was 2 miles away. And we would walk to get our groceries. We'd carry them back. So we do farmers carries whenever we had to. Whenever I had to get propane for the grill, I would walk to the gas station, refill it, carry it back. Little things. I thought, that gets into just lifestyle mode. I feel there's certain principles that you can abide by that everybody knows them. Just everybody denies that they know them. Like it's like if you ask somebody or somebody asks you, hey, what's a good diet to follow? Everybody knows what's healthy. Like Nobody knows. Everybody knows that, Cheetos and Doritos aren't like a sustainable.
Right. We at least know what's
Yeah.
not good.
McDonald's is not something that should be your everyday thing.
But when people try to answer their own question, they go to the extreme. So people will go, I ate something really healthy today. I ate a bunch of raw broccoli and Brussels sprouts and a dry salad. And I'm like, I would not eat that. I wouldn't go to the extreme. But little lifestyle changes to make things a little bit more difficult, I think is a good thing, especially if it's something that provides you with a comfort.
At least you feel like you did something.
Well, like if something
in that kind of sense, like at least you feel like you're attributed to a better health, like just kind of movement or whatever.
I think in my mind, it's earning it. I'm going to earn it, not necessarily in a reward type of way, but I'm going to get food. I'm going to get food like I should get food. I'm going to walk and, hunt my food in some general sense.
Yeah.
So does this go kind of along with your philosophy of challenge your body and mind in new ways?
Absolutely. I think it goes into what is referred to as the evolutionary perspective of health. That's something I picked up from Dr. Andrew Spina. He's up in Toronto as well. And he talks about the evolutionary perspective of health as a three-step process. And the questions are, what as a human being were we meant to do? We're meant to forage and kill and roam around, walk all day long and not sit at a desk and reproduce and, sleep, nap in the middle of the day. That's what we're meant to do.
Now, I like this.
Now, the second question is, what are you doing? None of that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the third question is, now, what are you doing to make up the difference of those two? So how far are you straying away from what you are evolutionarily supposed to do? And that is your measure of health. Now, what are you doing to make up for it? So if you're an active person that runs and walks a lot, you're pretty damn close, If you're eating whole foods, things that you buy in produce and you cook for yourself, pretty damn close. But if you're eating out fast food and you live a sedentary lifestyle, you've got a much larger gap to make up for.
Harder climb.
That's simple.
I like this theory because I haven't heard of him or it's stated that way, but I've basically thought the same thing most of my life. Just like that's the lens that I think about, and I think I'm a crazy person for thinking it, but. And sometimes it drives me crazy knowing that I've had these white collar jobs where I'm sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day and expected to be doing so. Yeah. And I'm just kind of in my own head, I'm judging myself because like, this is not what a human is supposed to do. Yeah. How am I going to make up for this?
And your body feels it after that. I mean, you're not meant to sit still.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you do that, you kind of spoke upon it before, but what are the things you're doing now that makes your body uncomfortable and you're challenging yourself?
Well, I mean, I'm human. I do think that people tend to think that I eat really healthy and I live a very strict lifestyle. I make things that are unhealthy or not very good for me hard to do. That's all I do. I don't I eat sweet things, I eat desserts and everything, but I don't buy them. I usually will walk to get something like that. I'll make it hard to do. I try to limit my caffeine consumption, but I grind and press and make my coffee the most difficult way possible so that I don't Keurig all day long.
So you don't appreciate it's a different type of convenience in a way.
Yeah.
So you're getting
I try
the
to make
convenience
my
of the
life
caffeine
inconvenient in a way.
Yeah, you're getting the convenience of the caffeine per se, but you're making it very inconvenient to get.
But it also makes me appreciate it more. It makes me appreciate it more because I think that things that are inherently not sustainable, not good habits, you should make inconveniences.
Yeah. I also think it probably, to me, it sounds like a good strategy to maintain mental fortitude.
Absolutely. Discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Anna really likes frozen yogurt and bubble tea, we walk to get that stuff. Mm-hmm. We walk to get it. Sure, we could buy it, but what's the sense of that? I want to get out of the house first of all. And there's many ways that you can do things the long road, and that's just part of adding little habits to increase your daily caloric expenditure.
So you're not down with Uber Eats.
I don't know what that is.
That's good. That's
do
a
you,
good answer.
Do you like get an Uber that takes you somewhere? It's
kind of similar. It's the opposite.
You have your food Ubered to you.
Yeah, the food's Ubered to you.
How's that different than like
a delivery place?
Yeah.
Because those places never delivered to begin with.
So they just added Uber.
Like, so it's like Jim Stakeout's like, oh, I don't want to pay a kid, to be our delivery driver. We're going to and that's, I mean, this is great marketing by Uber, essentially. It's like, all right, we'll make your delivering service.
Yeah, I wish I flew that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it's a multi-billion-dollar company.
If you can think of things that make things too easy for people, the opposite of your philosophy, then you can make a lot of money.
Breakdown. Yeah. Maybe it'll all go full circle and my trend will catch up to people.
Then you'll be profiting.
Yeah. You should try to find a way.
You should have an ebook of how to make all these different things harder.
I'll have a business that just comes to your house and makes your life harder.
That's right. Yeah, you want to make my life harder? There you go.
All your doors will be really hard to open, so you'll have to be really strong to open them.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. I could actually see that becoming a trend in 10 years.
Yeah, it's almost like what was it, the Pink Panther, where you had the guy always trying to like attack and kill him in different scenarios.
Keeps you sharp.
You hire someone.
Just keep it going every time. Keep your ninja skills. Which
that's interesting. You bring that up.
I know. Here we go.
So something you were talking about was you had a degree of killability. You wanted to make sure that you are harder to kill, and you think that's a good thing for other people to follow as well.
It started with that started with my gym motivation with MMA and jiu-jitsu. Is just trying not to get knocked out is a good goal to have in the gym. So being in shape enough, having the cardiovascular ability enough to not get myself hurt in either the octagon or on the mats, and that was my main motivation. Then it kind of stemmed out from there. I feel like people kind of gave me this persona in a way because like my Instagram tag, Camp Jordan, somebody made that up. Somebody just called wherever I trained, I'm going to Camp Jordan. And that kind of stuck. The degree of killability is my way of living a healthier lifestyle. So if it's going to lead me closer to death, I'm going to stay away from that. Any type of habit. I drink, but I don't drink often. I mean, it's poison. It's going to lead to my demise. It's going to weaken the tissue. It's going to weaken my body. So I'm going to not make that a habit. I still drink, but I don't do it habitually. So whenever I have a decision to make, I kind of look to that, and I laugh at myself, but ultimately I follow my own advice.
Yeah, it's funny, but I mean it's useful as long as especially if you look at it lightheartedly and not too serious, like Dwight Schrute.
But that goes back to
I've been compared to Dwight Schrute in Wisconsin.
That goes back to that thing that sparked your change was seeing somebody essentially killing themselves after they had that second chance. It's like, what am I doing that doesn't, like you said, spell my demise?
And an interesting thing, if you talk to a doctor, say somebody who has a fast turnover, like somebody who works in a emergency room, those doctors will often tell you that the majority of people who come into an emergency room, totally avoidable through light activity and hygiene. You'll get rid of like 80% of people in an emergency room. Basically, the things that they come in with are infections and like casts that they never took off, or something just like gross, like a boil that I don't. There's lots of things that I've worked in an emergency room before, again as an intern, and it's a gross place.
Well, I perused the Pimple Popper, Dr. Pimple, and
great.
The one dude had a lipoma growth on his shoulder area for 11 years.
Did you talk about this with Anna?
No,
that's her favorite subject.
Is it? I think I don't know. We might have mentioned it a little bit, but I don't know if it was on the podcast, but. Yeah, like the dude had this thing and it smelled. He said it smelled. It smelled.
Yeah.
And it was like,
I can't wrap my head around this.
Did he have a girlfriend?
I think he had a wife.
God.
Which blows my mind. She said,
she's like, yeah, it smelled.
Yeah, it was horrible. I couldn't sleep on that side, But no, like how do you live with that type of thing? Like that's
do not know.
This frustrates me. Like I'm more fascinated by the fact that that's a thing.
So that's a person that I would say I would never understand if I were to meet that person.
Is he a beta human?
Yes, I would say that. That's something that, so, okay, if you're going to bring that up.
Please, yeah.
So that's something that sometimes I'll let slip in conversation and somebody will go, what the hell did you just say? That started when I was coaching teams over at my last job at Impacts at the Harbor Center. And I love coaching young athletes because I see things that I wish I knew that I just want to share with high school athletes. I really enjoy because they're at that stage where they have no idea what to do and they haven't gotten hurt yet. So that's the opportunity that I have to teach them all the right stuff to do.
Pretty impressionable still.
Yeah, and very plastic. They can recover in no time. So the recoverability is amazing, and they're very...
and they're smart enough to actually learn.
Absolutely. Like, kids, when they're at that age, they're really easy to connect with because they're so ambitious when it was their choice to do sports. So when I was coaching women's rowing, I was their strength coach for a little while for a few high schools around Buffalo. When I was coaching them, I gave the girls the 3 rules to abide by. The girls were they were asking me for advice, and their questions were nothing to do with strength conditioning. So I started to make up these 3 rules of 3 rules to never get taken advantage of. Rule number 1 is study your ass off because stupid people get taken advantage of. Rule number 2 is lift heavy, get strong. Weak people get taken advantage of. And rule number 3 is don't take shit from anybody. Because if you take shit from somebody, it's just going to be a train wreck from there.
They're just going to keep taking it.
They're just going to keep taking it. Yeah. That same team, the few girls that were seniors, they ended up putting me in the yearbook as their senior quote. And it was probably like my favorite thing ever because they chose quotes that if you read them and you have no idea what they mean, but you kind of get it. One of the quotes was, "Losing is for losers. Losers lose." Jordan Marwin. Underneath their senior picture. I thought that was amazing.
Losers lose. Those are that's definitely very Dwight Schrute-esque right there.
Yeah. Because I think that they had a competition coming up and they said, nah, we're going to lose. They're a good team. We're going to lose. And I said, losers lose. You're not losers. Losing is for losers. You guys win. Something like that.
And so how did you play in with the beta human aspect of it?
So I wanted them to, you guys met Anna. She's a strong personality. We get along really, really well. We were friends for like 5 years before we started dating. Before I told her that we were dating. And that was also before I told her that we were engaged.
There you go.
So there's a funny story that actually happened. I said, we are now dating. And she agreed. So when when I was coaching the teams, part of the motivation was these women's teams, I wanted them to be alpha females and embody the notion that girls are strong, they lift heavy things, it's okay to do that, and if you don't do that, you are a beta human, not an alpha anymore. And I would cause these like inner team arguments of who's beta, who's alpha, and it started to take on a whole life of its own. And I should have brought a quote book that I have, because at the end of the season they made a book of quotes that I do not remember saying, but they made a book and they called it the insults book. Oh, wow. Because it was a book of things that I insulted them with throughout the season.
That would have been nice. Yeah. That's love right there.
Yeah. Because it would be things like, I would say, okay, load the bar 10 pounds, and the whole set would be done with like no weight whatsoever. And I would say something like, Grace, congratulations, you are the weakest person on the team. Or congratulations, you are handicapped. Like if they had a mobility deficit, those type of things worked with. It was a psychological aspect. Like I had good rapport with this team, and they responded to ridicule mostly. So it's like
that's a good sign.
Don't imagine 20 girls just crying the whole time.
Right.
Like they accepted it and used it as a challenge. Like, I'm not going to be
The beta.
They're resilient.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Lighthearted with it.
Yeah.
I wish the kids that
love.
we used to coach wrestling would have followed something like that.
It was boys.
Bunch of jamokes, yeah.
Boys respond to something. So I found out this from coaching teams. And if anybody's listening who wants to correct this, please. But girls, I have found high school, like 13 to 18, they respond more psychologically to, oh, you think you're going to do this? You can't. You can't. Prove me wrong. They respond to prove me wrong. I don't think that you girls can do this many reps. Well, if I'm wrong, prove it. Boys more respond to the psychological aspect of losing. So when I had a boys team, I would say something like, say they were on spin bikes. Mm-hmm. And I'd say for the next 20 seconds, I want it over 100 RPMs. If you get it over 100 RPMs, you got a chance. If it falls below that for 1 second, you've got silver. If it goes to the 80s, you get bronze. If it goes below that, you don't even make the team this year. Not that it was up to me, but putting that psychological, when you're running and you go, oh, if I don't get that stop sign before the end of the song, I'm dead, or something like that.
Tapping into the competitive spirit.
That's what really works with boys from my experiences. Tapping into that competitive edge of, I'm not going to lose, I'm going to win, and I'm not going to let this eat away at me for the rest of this practice.
It's interesting. And it's still competitive with the girls then, but it's
more
like
of a self competition.
Yeah,
it's more of a self.
And like a social thing. Like, I'm not going to let you think that about me.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Boys kind of don't want to let one another down.
Yeah, it's a camaraderie type thing where I can definitely see that.
Girls are there to prove something.
Yeah, I can see that too. I can see that. Well, that's how even when I wrestled in high school, girls that jumped on the team, it was there because they wanted to prove something. Mm-hmm. Like, girls could be wrestlers.
Yeah.
And they didn't know that there was already a girl wrestler on the team. Who've been wrestling since freshman year.
I just had some time with City Honors Rugby, and they have a girls team of like 30 to 40. And they have so many because there were so little numbers on the men's rugby that they got rid of it. So all the girls are saying, we're tougher than the boys. We're tougher than the boys. So I use that during the practice. Yeah. And that little edge makes them super competitive. I thought you guys were tougher than the boys. And they go, oh, we are.
I think female rugby is definitely getting, or especially around here, is Buff State. The female team was pretty good.
Yeah, I love going to Delaware Park and watching them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were there, or they'd be at on one of those side fields there at Buff State. So we've touched on your philosophies, a couple of your philosophies here, and I guess that kind of leads into a little bit about how you went viral with the bike guy. Yeah. Pushing your athletes. And was that something that he knew kind of like, I think it was just the one athlete that they kind of focused in on, but is that something that like he knew prior to going into that you were going to kind of like pressure him be on him, or
are you speaking of anybody?
I don't think anyone has context or background for what
okay. Start us off from the beginning there.
Well, you went viral on the internet, congratulations.
Yeah.
For your intensity at the NHL Combine, trying to get guys to perform their best on the bike test. That's about as far as I've researched this, but
I'll tell you a little bit about it. So I did the Combine, 3 years I did the Combine. So I was part of the Wingate team. The first year I was just a data collector. The second 2 years, year 2 and 3, I was the station manager, or the Wingate test director. So I did the data component of it. I worked with all the athletes. I did the motivation. So the second year that I did it, they took a video so that the next year the athletes would know what to expect. So the second year, they had no idea what they were getting into. That's when I started to become a little bit popular. I was on Barstool Sports the second year. And then the third year was when it really blew up on Twitter, and they gave me the bike guy hashtag. But the third year, they actually showed them a video, and I had a lot of athletes coming over to my station. There was 2 stations, and they came over to my station because they just wanted a little bit of what I had to offer, which was nice because really all that I was saying came from simply doing one thing that the other station didn't do. Talk to them before.
Trying to
motivate them. Yeah.
No, just like, hey, where are you from? How long have you been doing this for? What team do you want to go on?
Okay, gotcha.
What do you think of Buffalo?
Personability.
What's your favorite food to eat? Did you go to Duff's yet? Like things like that. And all these kids are from foreign countries.
Right.
They're visiting Buffalo and they're staying at, the Marriott. I'm telling them places to go downtown. I'm like, oh, did you try Pearl Street? That's a good place. Get their burgers. Like, I know the guy that runs that place. Talk to this guy. Just getting on a personal level, getting some type of connection. And during that conversation, I tried to pick up on some little motivational factor. Like, I've been playing hockey for all my life, and I was a really avid rider, and I did this, and then I had to go back to hockey, and here I am. And I would tap into some aspect of that story at some point. Not that I would like say, hey, remember when you were 4? But I would say, like, this is it for this team. Like, if they wanted to make, I don't know, the Stars, I'd say, or, say the Sabres, I'll stay in Buffalo. But, Buffalo's going to take you if you hit this. I think you can get it. I would look at the numbers as a strength coach. I would look at their numbers in the vertical. I would look at their numbers in the pro agility 5-10-5. And from that, I could I'd say as much as I could accurately predict how well they would do on the Wingate. And I would tell them, you've got the same vertical number as this guy. I bet you can beat him on this test. I would just give them a little bit of confidence. And I say, do you want me to yell at you? And they would say yes or no. Some guys said no. Some tests I did pretty quietly. Mm-hmm. But on Twitter, they were like, oh, if you screamed at me, I'd be pissed. I asked everybody if they wanted me. That's
what I kind of figured. I assumed it, but I was like, "There's no way that he was just yelling at everybody because that's just unless you knew them on." And I think that's really cool that you kind of try to get personable with them and get a little bit of a connection with them, because obviously that's going to drive more on, especially when you see like some of the other, I would say, viral similarities from, the Alabama strength coach or something like that, who's going hard on his athletes and getting in their face or punching helmets or headbutting helmets. It's like, well, he knows these guys. It's not like he just gets fired up for. Well, maybe he does, but
the athletes want to fire him.
The other part of that I find important is you can be a hype man, and that's good for some things. Like, so I'd say the other Wingate leader was just saying, go. Man, that was annoying. I didn't want to say that. So I changed what I said every test. Yeah, it was annoying. It was challenging, but it also kept it personable. And the guys behind the guy on my bike heard what I was saying to them. They heard that I was saying something different. It tapped into something a little bit extra, and they put on good numbers.
Yeah, I mean that's what matters, obviously, because they're trying to. That's their life.
Go's not going to help much. Yeah, but rip these fucking pedals out of the bike. That'll get me motivated.
I dig it.
Take them with you.
I definitely dig it, and they don't realize even at the time that you're trying to help them be, next level. Yeah, because in the end, that is going to be, if they make it, that's going to be their livelihood. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of cool that you got to be, I mean, obviously it's it was a weird viral because it's like you're just doing your thing, you're doing what you're hoping is helping. Yeah. But, people always find something, I don't want to say negative necessarily, but it can be kind of construed as negative, which sucks.
Here's the funny thing is that I'm not really too active on Twitter, so I've got a lot of time. Like, I don't follow a lot of people. And when I went viral, I made a Twitter account so I could see what was going on. And I got all the trash talking from some people, and I responded to every single one. But I responded super neutral. Like they said, oh, he's got a ponytail. I bet he rides a tricycle. And I was like, I ride a Harley, actually. And no, I'm not really into cycling. So sorry, dude. And they would just be like, oh, I can't believe he answered me back. Or somebody would go, hey, bike guy, I really need motivation to do my homework today. And I would just yell at them. That's something I really enjoyed doing, is people didn't think I would answer them, and I would.
That's awesome, too. Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Because in the end, it's your 15 seconds of fame, 15 minutes of fame, whatever.
Exactly.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Have some fun with it. Not everyone gets that kind of notoriety for anything. So
yeah, I had fun.
That's what matters. So talking a little bit about, we talked a little bit about Rusin, just kind of generalized, but as your, you kind of mentioned some of your influencers to us, but we also have an affinity, but a fanboy aspect for Dr. John Rusin, who's from the Buffalo area, or at least has some educational background from here at UB. And tell us kind of a little bit.
Damon,
I'm sorry. But yeah, tell us how you kind of came around with him.
I'm a fan of his work as well. He's a smart guy, physical therapist. I'm drawn to physical therapists because they offer just a different perspective of fitness.
So am I.
I train a lot of medical doctors, and every opportunity I have, I try to check my knowledge with them, and I tell them, please correct me. I just want to be right. I'll talk to them during their training. I'll talk to them about anatomy. And it's funny, you see that the more a professional knows, the less they say they know. So I trained some spinal surgeons, and I asked them some questions to go, I don't know, ask this person. I don't know that. They understand that there's so much to know that they just admit that they don't know it, or they've been out of school too long to know something that's out of their ballpark. Like, if it has to do with spines and putting rods in it, ask me. If it has to do with the shoulder, too far away. With John Rusin, he is a lot more, since he's a strength coach too, he's a lot more of a hybrid between the medical and the bro world. So what he instills is a more intelligent way of training, and he's a healthy dude who trains unhealthy people who are high performance athletes into moving better. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the Mike Tate, Fixing Dave Tate. John Rusin was working with Dave Tate from.
I just saw clips of it.
Yeah. But. So Dave Tate being a very famous power lifter, Westside Barbell. He is a power lifter till the day he dies. He has built himself into that restrictive box of squat, bench, deadlift.
Right.
Those are the three things his body can do. Can't do much else. So what John Rusin did is he put him through a FMS test and just showed all the things that he was unable to do in terms of movement capacity. And what he tries to enforce is this thought of, you don't have to totally destroy yourself in the gym. You should be putting more focus on your intentions in the gym. So like, when you go into a gym and you're just doing things without an intention, you shouldn't have done that in the first. You shouldn't have even gone to the gym in the first place if you don't have an intention behind it. Doing an activity without an intention is going to lead ultimately to injury. Doing things mindlessly is going to lead to not your goal, but some other place. So what I try to explain my fitness, the explanation I have behind what fitness is, when you have a lot of different body types that are capable of moving, you can get strong in a number of different ways, but they won't ultimately all lead you to your goal. Does that make sense? Think of like a maze, right? Like a maze that you would draw and try to trace into the center to win. There's a lot of different pathways. Not all of them lead to the center. And you also don't know how far yours is going to go. And you don't know when you're going to hit a wall All of those little different pathways is how I think of lifting. Yes, you can lift, and yes, you can get stronger, but until when? You know, and if you do all the right things, say you follow, you know, John Rustin and you do his pattern development, and you do active recovery, and you don't overtrain yourself, you'll ultimately have a longer path before hitting a wall. That's how I explain it to people.
That makes sense. I think he's probably said similar things, just in terms of the longevity and being able to hit those big numbers without hitting so many walls.
He has
and just be able to train for life.
He has a really cool certification that he's pushing right now, the Pain-Free Performance Specialist certification. I'm really interested in that because it's him, but because he teaches his system during it. I think he only offers it in Arizona, but I still want to go to it. But that's the idea, that he has a pyramid scheme where the bottom level of the
pyramid scheme.
I didn't mean it that. So imagine a pyramid diagram.
He's got a multi-level.
He's got a multi-tiered
marketing.
So you have to buy Advocare first in order to get the certification. No, he has a performance pyramid, is what I meant.
It's at the University of Phoenix.
Yeah. So he has a performance pyramid where he puts the important things in the base. So he says that your lifestyle choices are the most important part of your fitness. And then above that would be nutrition. And then above that would be training. Above that would be actively recovering. And then above that is passive recovery.
And I'm hearing Stanley say, you need the power of the pyramid now.
So I like his ideas, and I'm just trying to, what Mike Boyle says is, steal ideas from the smart people. Just make sure you're not stealing from the dumb kid.
And you can identify the dumb person by how arrogantly they state their opinions, it sounds like. It's going back to the humility of the people that are the smartest ones.
Some of the influencers that the average person might see on Instagram, per se. Like we said, we follow Coach Lee Boyce or Rusin or somebody like that, and they're not exactly arrogant so much as they're trying to be informational. Yeah. And they give out their tidbits as not only because they're trying to sell their brand, but they're also trying to educate.
They're just trying to give value to people.
People don't realize
learn themselves.
There's a difference between a fitness professional and a fitness celebrity. Like Lee Boyce, man, he's got a lot of really great things to say. He is 100% continued education, smart dude. Mm-hmm. He's a fitness professional. On the other hand, you have people who look the part. You can tell the difference if somebody's Instagram is flooded with shirtless pics of themselves. I think Lee Boyce put something out that said, it is possible to be a fitness professional and wear clothes.
Wear a shirt, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. But having an Instagram page that's flooded with just selfies with your shirt off, that's a
narcissistic from the male point of view, or the female, where they do the twist and the butt, and it's like that's all you see, and it's like, we could do that too.
If you have somebody who's...
well, they're just trying to build a following and make money.
Yeah.
Whereas someone like, we'll just keep using Lee Boyce as an example. He's not out there like, I'm trying to become Insta famous and become an influencer in that manner. Like, he's a fitness professional. He just wants to learn, educate, teach, make people better.
Yeah. He doesn't say things arrogantly either. Like his posts are sassy, I'd say, but
he's got it's like sarcastic.
I love it.
I think it's because he's trying to rise above the noise, but also like, I think it's almost out of frustration in a sense. Yeah. Like, why are you doing frustrated. Something? Yeah. Why are you doing something that's not going to work, or listening to people who have no idea what they're talking about? Try this instead.
Yeah. Fitness professionals do a good job at building others up and not necessarily themselves. Right. So you'll see trainers who are fitness professionals on Instagram or on Facebook who highlight their clients. And they say, look at this client, look what they did, or here's some information, or go to this conference. There'll be rarely anything about themselves other than like, hey, it's family day today, or a coach will post a picture of their dog or something.
Right. I think all the guys from T Nation are pretty good at that.
Mm-hmm.
I Thibodeau and all of them. I think they have a good pulse on, or a finger on the pulse of like, you know, we're trying to educate, we're trying to make your life better. We're not trying to, you know, obviously they do sell things and have sponsors, but everybody does in one way, shape, or form. But it's in a good way, and I respect that, and I think that's something that, you know, is definitely worth the time of everybody. If you have, you know, can check that out.
Going back to John Russ, and one thing that I am attracted to with his certifications and his talks online are his energy systems development. Going into, he puts energy systems into the realm of recovery as well, which people don't realize that you can use low intensity, sustained cardio as a great recovery tool. So when you're having a super stressful day, going for a nice walk, like a like a nice slow walk, literally, that's great recovery. That actually puts you back into that parasympathetic state. That is pushing fluid through your tissue and making things move.
That's what the human body was meant to do, right?
Yeah.
Evolutionarily speaking.
It'd be nice if it wasn't
walking.
like negative 10 degrees sometimes here in Buffalo to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I think that
those slow summer walks are some of the best, man.
Yeah. I don't know if I was evolutionarily designed to live in this climate.
I'm just thinking about that right now. I was like, damn, I really wish I could do just like a nice down by the river, slow, chill walk. But
you know, I'm just gonna keep bringing up subjects here. With talking about fitness, it being difficult for somebody to get in shape, I think that it's going to be much more difficult for people to train them. It's going to be much easier for people to train themselves when they just know more about their bodies. And that's what this profession is really about. Lee Boyce is teaching people about their bodies, about how their bodies work. John's teaching them how their bodies work. I'm going to think
Anna helped teach me how my body worked, because I have everyone's a little different. I got long limbs, long legs, short torso. That'll impact the way you work out.
We had our guest last night. We'll be releasing that podcast soon as well. You know, she was talking about just the way you walk, like walk with your feet, like you're painting the floor essentially.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, she's like, walk with your feet like you're painting the floor instead of just walking on your toes or, you know, stuff like that.
Do you guys have any idea how many people don't take their shoes off throughout anytime?
Yeah,
anytime. I mean, it was cool to see the fact that, I mean, just as being a guest, I'll take my shoes off, but just making that a habit. I have individuals who have come to me for training who can't stand on 2 feet, let alone 1. And I find out that they never take their shoes off. The only time they take their shoes off is to wear socks in bed. And that doesn't even count for me.
No.
Socks. Go home, take your socks and your shoes off. Maybe keep your socks on if you're worried about your feet. I don't know how they look.
She recommended
the Vivos.
Walking barefoot through sand.
The Vivos, and the Vivos. Oh, well, yeah, the guest last night was talking about, walking through the sand, the beaches. The beach is your best, because you're getting the full range of the foot.
If you have access.
So think about this. One of the clients, this is an older lady that I trained. She's like 60 and she doesn't take her shoes off, and she walks and walks and walks and walks, but her feet are just like unusable stumps at this point because she can't move any of her toes. So it's like she has stumps. And I gave her, she just couldn't really understand the reasoning behind what I was telling her what to do, because her feet hurt. Yeah, but your feet and your hands are the most bones and joints in your body. You have the most bones in your feet and your hands, so they must be important. And what I was trying to tell her, since she works in childcare, imagine putting mittens or say a sock and then a mitten on a child's hands and then leaving them there for years, then take them off. How well do you think their hands will work? Their hands will not work. Their fingers will not work. You'll have deformed fingers that you won't be able to access. The same goes for your feet. If you're wearing casts on your feet all day and shoes that don't let your ankle move, your ankles and toes will, especially if you have toes that get pushed together, they're going to stop working.
Oh yeah, everybody's toes these days, because we grew up wearing shoes. Are not. They're all tight.
They overlap almost.
Children don't learn to walk with shoes on. They learn to walk with bare feet. That's biofeedback. When you're talking about walking with bare feet on sand, biofeedback. You need your feet to experience the world.
Yeah. We don't need Jordans. We need there was Anna was
now I feel like I have to go out and buy those.
I know, I want to.
They're great shoes.
Rogan was talking about the I know that was the other thing too, but compared to
Joe Rogan, he's talking about some new Under Armour shoe that's similar, right?
He
goes running in
he was talking about running normally, in bare feet, but he had tried, I think they were the Under Armour like fat tire whatever one. I think it wasn't not only for the grip, but just because he said they were just so comfortable and it could his feet or toes could stretch out and everything.
Yeah.
And so that was something that I was like, oh man, I should try a pair of those.
Whenever I take my shoes off, I the first thing I look at is I look at my feet and I'm like, my toes are too scrunched together. Like this is the way it's gonna be. I don't know how much of the damage I can undo, but that's just living in the modern world right there.
It depends person to person, but I've had people go, my bunions have disappeared. Like people have reversed the distortions of their toes. It's crazy. Just by moving their toes and habitually not wearing shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and buying the right type of shoe too.
To try and do.
Like you said, like getting the Vivos or something like that.
Just think about what your body's meant to do. You're not meant to squish all your toes together.
Yeah.
I like this. I was actually Nick and I were talking about doing a podcast, just the two of us, where I wanted to talk about stuff like that. Like, what is the evolutionary purpose of a human organism? And let's try and follow those
the foot's a cool
recommendations.
Thing. The foot's a really cool thing, and I think that you might think this is cool, Dan. When you're talking about like track and field, if you think about the foot, it's called a windlass mechanism. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
Never heard that term.
So windlass mechanism, think about this. When your toes are up, you're contracting the arch of your foot, right? So your foot shortens. So all those bones in your foot, 30 something bones in your foot, when you lift your toes, like say you're, imagine your foot behind you as you're running. Your toes are planted, your heel's up. When your foot's in that shape, it's short and it's rigid and it's going to propel you. Now, when your ankle and toes are plantar flexed, so foot is pointed, you're relaxing the arch, your foot is lengthened. That's a good shock absorber. That's gait. So when you're running and you plantar flex, you're going to shock absorb. If you can't dorsiflex and extend your toes, you can't propel yourself. So if somebody wants to get faster and their toes,
the first thing I thought was the propelling. Like that's gonna propel you forward.
If you can't move that way, you're not going to go fast. You can get as strong as you want, but if I put a NASCAR engine in my Jeep Wrangler, it's going to fall apart. You know what I mean? You have to increase the hardware's resiliency.
Mind blown.
So yeah, the same mechanism can work in two opposite directions: a shock absorber and a propulsion mechanism. That's a windlass mechanism.
And it's interesting. In track, you run with minimalist shoes, but you don't train in them typically.
Yeah. What do people typically train in?
Your Asics running shoes or something like with a bit of a heel and a lot of padding. And you're told, and I was told my whole career, like that was good for me. And I would get shin splints a lot. And then I would throw orthotics in as well to, stabilize me or whatever.
Yeah.
But if anything, it's more of a crutch. As I got older, I realized that was the case. And now I no longer need orthotics, but I still, use pretty much your typical athletic shoe for most things. And I did some training in the what are those called? The 5-finger shoes for a while. And for probably all throughout college, I would wear those, and people thought I looked like an idiot. Did look like an idiot, but it was good for the feet. I was so happy when they came out with Vivos because
they look better too. I hated how I looked in them.
Well, it's interesting. So I was in those 5-finger shoes. I don't think I was aware of Vivo at the time. And then someone in the medical field recommended that I go back to athletic shoes with a heel in particular because of some injuries I was dealing with, and an ankle injury that was bothered me for the entirety of my life at this point. Because he just thought you don't have the range of motion to do athletic movements without a heel.
Yeah.
What, for right or wrong, I've not really questioned him. Maybe I should question him now. But so I went back. I switched. I threw those away and never looked back.
Yeah.
But I guess perhaps I'm not indicated to wear those. But it also could just be
it's a balance between where you're currently at and
maybe
knowing
there's
that
just
it's not
mobility that I can
sustainable.
still gain back
Yeah.
somehow.
It's like I'm not going to tell a cashier that stands around all day to wear minimalist shoes. They're just going to hurt themselves. Like I'll tell them to wear some, nice dad white New Balances, some cushiony shoes. But when you get home, take them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're also not meant to walk on like a cement floor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the Vivos, you can do a lot of like cross training and stuff like that with those, right?
When I first started wearing minimalist shoes, I only wore them for a couple hours out of the day. I switched between those and some comfortable shoes because my feet were so sore. My arches were sore, and then I got used to it. My feet got stronger. My ankles have never been stronger from just wearing those shoes. On the mats in jiu-jitsu, I get less turf toe. So my toes get sprained less because they're stronger. Mm-hmm. I don't even remember the last time I had turf toe, but that used to be a huge, huge problem with me. That my toes I would tape them together because they would just be sprained all the time.
Yeah, wrestling shoes are very minimalist in a lot of ways. So that was what was nice about when we wrestled. We could, dive off the toes because a lot of your shots are kind of from the toes in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
But I never. We used to run in those, and it would hurt so bad.
Yeah,
running stairs or
So
just
you're
running
running on a hard surface.
Yeah.
running sprints like
That's
on
where it gets
the
tricky.
the school the school hallways. And I'd be like,
God.
whew. I was like, we gotta figure out a way to change out of these. We, coaches didn't care. They wanted to get done practice.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would suck all the time. That would hurt. Oh, just thinking about it now. But
I mean, that's one of the reasons we trained in like an ASICS shoe or
ASICS,
something like that, because we're running on concrete and not running on grass.
Right.
So.
You remind me of
rubber.
You remind me of something. The training that's done in high schools is just brutal. It seems these days.
Back when we were in high school, a lot different. Now it's a little bit smarter.
Mm-hmm.
Not much, but a little bit smarter. I think sometimes because you stay with what you know. So as you talked about before, we sometimes don't always progress as coaches or mentors. But yeah, I mean, definitely like wrestling has evolved. Football's evolved in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't really speak about too many other sports. Not many sports really have needed an evolution. Like baseball, I think has evolved in different ways, more for people who are pitching. That has evolved because your arm can only do so much, right? Where you see those injuries that the pros used to get was because they were on the steroids. So they'd have those hips and they'd have the knees and stuff like that. Those injuries were because of the roids. Yeah. Where pitching is just really because the throwing.
You've only got so many throws in your lifetime is kind of the theory, right?
Well, like even for me, I pitched when I was growing up. I played third and I pitched, and so having to change that motion was tough enough. But then when I played quarterback, that was even more. So like this right shoulder is just feels different than because of throwing in different types of ways and different motions, trying to throw fast, trying to throw different ways.
Think of this: when in your pitching experience, the transfer force that happens from your back foot to the arm.
Plant.
What people don't realize is that movement is so complex. The load that happens, it's not what people think it is. People think that pitching's simply throwing the ball. It is such a different movement than I think what people actually see.
Right. We joke about Josh Allen's arm strength, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really a lot of it's in your hips.
It's your glutes, man.
Your hips don't lie. Like Pennington had great velocity, but once he started injuring his body, he couldn't throw it anymore.
Yeah.
That's probably a lot of what, like, Josh Allen gets a lot of his momentum from is from the rest of his body, because he's got that length, he's got the arms and all that stuff, and so that puts a lot of strength in the motion. And
it's an amazing movement.
Because I don't think he's looks that strong at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what his bench press was, and not that I think that matters.
Well, think of this. It's the hips, the transfer of force going from the ground up, and your torso, the responsibility of your musculature throughout your core. And it's that transfer of force.
Yeah, and that's why you see some of the better quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers can throw a decent ball off his back foot. But if he had been able to plant forward and get all the momentum into it, he could even throw it farther. And that's what's crazy about, like Mike Vick had a great transfer, and he could put a good throw, when he
also had a great wrist motion.
Snap. He had a solid snap.
So even that matters at the end.
Yep, at the end of it too. And that's why you look at Rivers and Roethlisberger, not so much, but Rivers has that more of a shot put throw, and he puts it in in a different type of momentum from his arm, and so it's not the speediest ball, but he can still get a loft on it, and so it's definitely. I mean, even Peyton had to change his throwing after his surgery.
Yeah.
Because of how, and then that changed his velocity. Obviously, he had no velocity left because he couldn't step into it and really, put his body into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the years of torture on your body, but also just kind of like you said, the throwing mechanic as a whole. It's not just your arm. We talk about arm strength, but it's not. It's everything.
Yeah. It's resiliency to bend, and it's that transfer of force from the ground up.
Sometimes genetics too.
Yeah, I'm just thinking in terms of explosive force. If you have
punching
a tendency to not be able to stiffen through your torso, that ball's not going anywhere.
Yep. Punching, I think, is something similar. Being able to throw the certain, like a haymaker or uppercut or something like that. Like as you know from your days, different type of movement, and you got to put a little bit more into it. Yeah. It's definitely how the body moves. Something I sometimes get fascinated by, but I don't even think about it. Just
you have to be aware of your toes most of the time too, because if your toes aren't planted on the floor, you're
slip. You'll get slip. And that's similar to wrestling, and that's like I said, even when you're planting football, same way. If you're juking and whatnot, basketball has a little bit about your toes, but when you're taking a shot, that's why I don't know, the one podcast where Rick Barry, he did everything underhand, because your body is more natural to throwing free throws underhand than it is to pulling up and shooting from the wrist. It's funny how a lot of athletes could change up their entire game by just doing some, like you were talking about, more functionality, what your body's meant to do instead of what you're forcing it to do.
Yeah. Understanding the body is just the long road that people have to take in order to understand how to manipulate their body. People will go into a gym and they'll lift without any idea of how their body works. And, if you want to find an expert, talk to a brand new personal trainer, because they'll be an expert on everything. If you want to find somebody who, that's how it works. But then you find somebody who's a PhD and they'll say, I know nothing.
Yeah. I did some personal training in college, and I thought I was smart, and now I realize I knew nothing.
Right.
Yeah. You knew nothing, Jon Snow. All right, shotgun questions for you, Jordan. Sure.
Well, do we need to transition into the shotgun questions?
We're just going to go right into it.
Just shotgun
questions. Effect. So, yeah, I know, right? So these are just some fun questions we like asking all our guests. One day we'll do something with the information we've gathered. Okay, starting this off, just nice and easy. What's your favorite cheat meal?
Oh, man. I heard this one, and I was thinking about what I would say. I don't want to be an asshole and not have an answer to it. So
Thank you.
I'm going to say, I'd say I look forward to, since I don't eat sweet things very often, if I get in a nice restaurant, I like to find their popular dessert chocolate based something.
Okay.
Because if I'm going to eat something, I'm going to make it worthwhile.
respect that.
It's going to be really good if I'm going to eat it. I'm not going to waste my time on a shitty
Snickers
muffin
bar
or something like that.
Good.
Or a cupcake that is dry. I'm going to get something really good.
I respect that answer a lot. It's
Yes.
hard. I didn't relate well to all the pizza answers so far, but that one, I feel
Yeah,
that.
give me a good chocolate cake with some.
Because pizza doesn't have to
cream,
be a
too.
cheat meal. It can be good.
All right.
It can be healthy.
Pizza's not a cheap
Cauliflower.
meal.
You're to cauliflower
No, I'm
dough.
talking about just those Quest pizzas. I think the Quest pizzas are
Here's
freaking
my
really good.
here's my dietary.
Nick wants that Quest money.
I do.
I got a dietary hack here. I told somebody about this today. So dinner, take whatever I want, bury it with raw vegetables. I eat my way to dinner. That's how I take care of my nutrition. So if it's pizza for dinner, I'll bury that with super greens and some broccoli and some tomatoes, and
Could be worse.
I'll eat my way to that pizza.
Making it harder to the inconvenience factor.
The inconvenience.
I think we just got it there.
Come on.
That's what it is. The Inconvenience Factor by Jordan Marwin.
Yeah.
I like it.
You can hire him to make your life harder.
That's right. Next question. Favorite exercise movement?
Ooh, snatch. It's got to be the barbell snatch. I'd say not in any particular order, so I don't get in trouble. I have 3 loves.
We all understand that there's lots of important movements.
There's 3 loves. There's 3 loves of my life, and one is Olympic weightlifting, the other one's jiu-jitsu, and the third one's my fiance.
Yeah. We won't put in that in any particular order.
But barbell snatch, nothing feels better, and it's an impressive movement. It takes a lot of skill.
Dan showed me the trap snatch, as he likes to call it. Yeah, you showed me it.
It's not what I call it.
Well,
but
what do you call it again? What is it? Well, I would say it's
What I'm
trap snatch.
imagining is very horrific.
I like the snatch grip wide, or what's it called? Now I don't remember the name of it. Snatch grip high pull.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite exercise.
Yeah.
I was called trap snatches.
If you do it right, if you either clean or snatch correctly the actual movement, here's what's going to be sore: your lats, your traps, your biceps. Like if you do it right, it will be a trap snatch. So that's a good descriptor of it.
Cool. Next question is, if you could change one thing about your fitness career, what would it be?
Starting earlier. I would have started when I would have made a decision back in high school, because I work with people who are a decade further along than I am. I wish I made I say I wish I made the decision earlier, but having the medical background really helps. I just wish I had a sooner start in knowing what I'm doing. I started lifting when I was 12 to 14, and I didn't start lifting correctly till I was 26.
I feel like I'm gonna forgive you a little, because I think it was tougher 10 plus years ago. I just feel like there's been an explosion of knowledge and in more intelligent training, or at least a visibility of the people that really know what they're talking about and know the body. And this whole, we have physical therapists that are also trainers now, and vice versa. So
there's definitely a movement going on.
Yeah, I think I just think the education has gotten better.
I think people are sick of being in pain.
Mm-hmm.
I think social media has helped with that, facilitate that, I think. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know you could have obviously been in the game a while ago, but without that ability to have that social media a little bit, or, like you said, blogging, podcasting, all that stuff to get your information out, it would probably have been segregated to one area, kind of just put in one spot, and you would have been lost in the noise. So, you go all the seminars, but, right now we find a lot more people from the internet, YouTube, stuff like that, which I think is helpful. Next question. What is next for Jordan Marwin?
I'd like to get my doctorate in terms of educational aspects. I'd like to do long-term studies with energy systems and recovery, and perform research. I'd like to do some writing. So I think next step is going to be writing articles, getting on some clinical research, publishing.
Awesome. We need more research out there.
Yeah, I'm talking to Buffalo General Hospital right now, and I'm trying to do a collaborative study with mitochondria deficiency and cardiovascular development in these individuals. People who don't naturally produce the correct, the normal amount of energy. They're like low energy beings. They walk among us.
I wonder if I'm one of them.
I feel like one of them.
It's tough because we're expending so much energy. That's why.
I have maybe a theory, recent discovery along those lines for another episode. Stay tuned.
Right. Last question is, any pro tips that you want to impart on the audience?
Yeah, I would say that the most important thing to have knowledge about is yourself, because it's gonna count when you're older. I tell my parents, my mom is really into politics, and she tries to get me into it, and I tell her, what is that going to matter to me decades from now when I need to care mostly about my health, and those politicians are probably going to be dead. The first and best thing to conquer is your body. So to understand how your body works is going to be the most important thing. Whether you want it to be or not, you're either going to have to pay to have somebody else take care of you, or you're going to pay to take care of yourself. I'd rather do the latter.
I respect that. Makes sense. I mean, no matter what, you gotta have your body. You gotta take care of number one sometimes.
I mean, we walk around in this meat wagon that we don't know how to control. We don't know how to fix it. You have pain, you don't know why, and then it lasts for months. That's not normal.
No.
It's good to know what the signs are and what they mean, because people don't know what things mean. They just think, this is me now. I've got shitty knees. This is me. Like, you don't.
I think that's a generational thing too. My parents, my mom, like I feel bad because
we've lost it.
Yeah,
we got to get it back.
My mom's like, oh, I just have a bad back and knees, and I'm like, I feel like you could have done something to maybe help out with that a little bit more.
My mom has scoliosis, and we deal with it during her lifting, and she's a badass. She hits it hard in the gym, and she's got a rounded shoulder on one side that her spine's pushing up against, and she's a fully capable, fully mobile person with resting just deformity. So that should say enough. If you have something, just a physical. I trained somebody who has rods from their neck to their tailbone. They have rods in their entire spine. Their spine is one solid object, and they work out twice a week with me, and they do everything, literally. Shy of back squatting. They can't back squat. Back squatting, you need thoracic extension, hip flexion, and ankle dorsiflexion. One of those things is not happening on somebody who has rods in their back.
Right. That's awesome too.
It's good to know the importance of that as you age and maintaining your independence. Probably a lot of people don't think about that when they're older, but or when they're younger. Sorry. One of the most impactful statements that I heard when I was at UB was from one of my teachers in one of those fitness classes that you take just because you want one extra credit just for fun. But he had the link between strength and mortality, and strength and basically being able to live independently. And hey, can you use a can opener when you're older, and little things like that. And so he encouraged us to strength train for life for that reason.
I might know who you're talking about. I'm not.
He was a great guy. Did the bod pod with us.
Yeah. So I was in
underwater breathing
weighing.
test.
Yeah.
Underwater weighing. Yeah,
for the Cressy Lab.
For fat, I think he was trying to just figure out your body fat percentage. Right?
So there's 3 I've heard from probably the same class at UB. They told us as grad students the 3 statistical factors of all-cause mortality. One being grip strength, like you're talking about over cans. So grip strength, or grabbing on a handle and pulling yourself off the floor. But grip strength, foot speed, and eccentric leg strength. So think about those 3 things in terms of catching yourself from falling, or reacting quickly from something, or standing up from the ground unassisted without having to have a table or a handle. You need to have pushing and leg strength, grip strength. Those are the things that are going to keep you living.
Agreed. All right, where can we find you?
On Instagram, I think I'm most active. I'm trying to get my other social media in order, but Camp Jordan, CSCS, just how it sounds. And I'm working on a Twitter and updating my LinkedIn for the professional aspect. I've learned that those are important. I need to take Lee Boyce's stance on sharing things both on Twitter and Instagram. I like his style. I want to be the U.S. Lee Boyce.
There you go. There's an option on Instagram. You can share to Twitter, so you can kind of go both ways. Not always as sexy. It's probably better to do.
I feel old.
The Twitter, you'd want the words though.
Yeah, so it'd be sexier if you just I mean, obviously you have to do them on both.
Yeah.
Either way, but yeah, good stuff.
Cool.
Good stuff. Well, thanks.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
It's
Definitely
really
been a lot of information. Probably more than we could have kept going with. So, so we got that going for us. But
Maybe there'll be another opportunity.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I can talk.
Well, we appreciate it.
And thanks for listening to the HeroFit podcast with Nick and Dan. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you want to know more about this episode or listen to past podcasts, you can go to herofitpodcast.com. And our audience is strong, so please do not smash the subscribe button. I know other hosts tell you to smash the subscribe button, but they're talking to weak beta listeners. So instead, please softly jab the subscribe button like a nice sparring session. After that, leave us a review on iTunes, Google, or wherever else you can. If your podcast app doesn't have reviews, you could start a blog called HeroFitPodcastReviews.com. You could put a picture of 5 stars on it. Do whatever it takes, and we're counting on you. And if you think you know someone who would like this episode, please share it with them. Then start a meetup group in your city called HeroFit Podcast Discussion Group so you can meet with them weekly and discuss the show. All right, that's it for now. Hit us up on the socials until the next episode.
This has been another episode of the HeroFit Podcast, making humans great again, one podcast at a time.